I'm making tacos. Yeah, making tacos. Let me get this thing over here. Taco mix. Gotta get the taco meat and a pan. Let's see. Some ground beef. And let's see. I kind of feel like stainless steel. I have my own pan. My own pan is a Tefal, but it's got like indentations in it. If I use non-stick, I can't get it. I don't want to scrape the non-stick. So I'm gonna let's see. I kind of feel like using my own pan. Let me go get my own pan. It's my own pan. So I'm going to use this one. It's got some stuff on the bottom. I think I can use this one. Get some stuff on there. Spoon. Spoon. There we go. It's got something stuck in it. Let's see. So let's see how much salt is in this. So 2 teaspoons seasons 2 tacos. I think I'm going to use 2 tablespoons because 3 teaspoons to a tablespoon. So I'll use 6 teaspoons. Okay, 2 tablespoons and ground beef goes in. And I'm going to add a little bit more taco seasoning. Actually, you know what? I'm going to add a little bit of garlic. A little bit of garlic and onion. Just a little bit of garlic and onion. There we go. Okay. Get a sip of soda. Some cabbage while this is heating up. Bought an organic cabbage. So I'm going to take this off and chop this out. I'll just do like half of the cabbage. Turn this down. It's too hot. Let's see. cabbage for me. Put that into a bowl. Rinse this. Just get a good cold rinse on it. Cold rinse. And just strain it. Put it back on the board and let it just kind of dry for a little bit. Get the rest of that water out of there. Okay. Get my soda. It's already hurting, so I'm gonna have to get a chair. Do a little bowl of cheese. Little bowl of cheese. Let's see. I got some Mexican cheese. I like this cheese. This cheese is good. Shredded Monterey Jack, cheddar, asadero, and queso quesadilla cheese. So I'll do a little bowl for the tacos. Set it up here. tortillas. I went with street tacos. These are the flour tortillas, or small street taco shells. Salsa and 2 salsas. That should be good. It should be good. Get all the seasoning mixed with all the other stuff. It's got to heat up a bit more than this, but I want to get all the seasonings. My right hand for a minute. Sizzling, boil off some of that water. It's better to stand up. My back hurts a little bit. Get the taco seasoning back in the cupboard. Got this so it doesn't really splatter, so it's kind of a good way I've got it set up now, but I want to heat it up so that it's kind of almost sizzling a little bit. You know, just get it kind of cooking, but it's going to splatter if it does. It'll get on my shirt, and I'm just going to put on an apron. Let's see if we have an extra apron. My mom has aprons. Get an apron. So I got an apron on. All right. That's the apron. meat is pretty much done. I'm not really browning it. I don't know why. I'm just not. Some of it's getting a little bit brown, but normally, sometimes you cook it, it gets really browned, and then it kind of like, it reduces in size. So you seemingly have a lot less ground beef. Some of it I want to get a little bit more done in the chunks. But if it sizzles, it kind of reduces a little bit. Some of that fat, some of that water comes out of it. I feel like there's some moisture in it that comes out of it. And then some of the fat comes out too. So that's just kind of a couple things that, you know, you increase the heat, it gets a nice sizzle, you get that browning going on, but it does splatter a bit. I'm only going to be here for a little while, and then I'm going back to Minnesota, so sizzle this last little bit. The chunks just need to get a little bit hotter. How's Chat doing? Chat is doing good. There we go. It's gonna sizzle now. Hurts my hand a little bit to do that. just about done. You get a little bit more brown, but try a little bit of meat. About right. It's about done. Gonna keep going just a little bit. Kind of like it where it is. Okay, that's it. All right. So I got the tacos here. I'm gonna set the plate right down. Gonna tip this down a little bit. There we go. So that's stable. We got a plate, a couple types of hot sauce. Knife and fork, spoon. I got some Herdez guacamole salsa. I like that, but I only like mild. Medium is like way too hot for me. I can't do the mild. The medium. The mild is fine. And I got some regular from a local restaurant. So what else do I need? I think that's about. I'll get my soda. All right. Oh, I need a spoon for the meat. Just put that right there. Okay, we're gonna get a little bit of meat. Okay. It's good. Do a little bit more. Kind of hungry. Do a little bit of cheese. And some cabbage. Okay, just a little bit of cabbage in there. Too much cabbage. Don't get too much cabbage. Okay, and all this taco sauce. Let's see. There we go. A little bit of Herdez here. Drip a little bit. taco. There we go. There's a taco. I gotta push it down a little bit. It was good. That's 2 tortillas. I think I'll just have 2 tacos. 2 tacos will be plenty, and then I can just kind of cover this, save some of it, have some of it for later, you know. A little bit of cheese. I watched a little bit of WrestleMania the other night. I happened to have Peacock, so I had Peacock. So I watched just like, I don't know, maybe about an hour of it. Some of the early matches, before they got into the bigger matches. The wrestling looked pretty good. It was pretty interesting. So, yeah, that was kind of fun. So, I didn't watch. When I was a little kid, I loved wrestling. I loved, watching, the giants of wrestling, basically. These guys were just like, giants, basically. Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant, obviously, and all the other wrestlers. I thought about buying the game. I was like, oh yeah, because they were advertising the PlayStation game. And I was like, dude, that would be totally fun. Like, I could play the video game and get into it and, learn all the moves and stuff. But it's like, I just started watching, streamers play the game. And, it's a 2K game, and I feel like the difference between wrestling and basketball and what are the other 2K games? Hockey. I just feel like the characters don't move right. There's too much like air or resistance in the moves that I just didn't want to get into another 2K game. It was like the whole game is like sort of the same, and you can build a character, and then you got to buy coins to upgrade, and if you want cards and stuff. I mean, when I played it like, I don't know, 3 years ago or so, I thought it was awesome. It was so much fun. You know, you buy the game and then you spend another, I don't know, 40 or 50 bucks on the coins or whatever, the in-game currency, and you get packs of characters and players, and I think it'd be actually a lot of fun. But I just somehow the 2K game, I don't know. I did have fun. In NBA 2K, I think 21 or something. I forgot the guy's name. His name was Joe. He's a player for, might have been the Nets or San Antonio or someone, and I could get 3-pointers like every time. So in the 3-on-3, and so I kept getting like more cards and more player cards and like the emerald, you get the like they had all the different jewels. So they had all these jewels, and they go up to diamond or whatever. And so if you got these points or these tokens, then you could get another card in that segment. So I did all with emerald, which was pretty tough, and then the console got canceled or whatever. The system got canceled and they shut down the game, and I didn't have internet to play or whatever. So, but it was fun. I mean, scoring 3-pointers every time in a row, just like every time you get the 3-pointer, every single time was great. It was a lot of fun. It's like you're beating the game. And then I did FIFA for a little bit, and FIFA's sort of the same way. I think now it's EA Soccer or whatever. But each game you might put in $200 into the game, and then the next year they come out with another one, and you're like, well, do I put $200 into the game again each year? That's $200 a year on a game. And if you do, like I've done hockey, Madden, FIFA, NBA 2K, and then I was thinking of doing wrestling, 2K wrestling. But I was like, I don't know that with the games coming out every year, it's harder to justify buying all the characters, buying all the cards, because then it just sort of becomes a wash the next year. So you're like, well, do I do a season? Do I create a character, do a season? And I did that with NBA 2K21, and then I was like, well, so I think some of the games, these EA games, they should have, like Xbox is doing. Xbox is supporting backward compatibility so you can play your old games. But I think the whole EA and 2K ecosystem should allow you to keep players from prior games, like 2 or 3 generations of games. So if you get like Shaquille O'Neal, or you get whoever else in the game, or Ronaldo in FIFA or something, and they're rated really high, like takes you a lot of points and characters to get that, right? I think you should be able to roll that card or that character into the next year's version, so you have like a rolling list of characters. Because if you do this every year or whatever, it just doesn't make sense. When I was growing up, they would do a sports game every couple of years. They didn't do one each year until later, right? And so you'd get really good at the characters in the game. And now it's just like, when I see a lot of people playing, it's like they'll play it for like 2 weeks. And a lot of the streamers that are pro streamers, pro gamers or whatever, they get like all these points and stuff, and so they just buy everything in the game, and then after a couple of weeks or a couple of months or whatever, it's just like, well, you wait till the next game comes out. But I feel like to get good at games, or to kind of have a repetition or a practice of the game, you need some type of holdover that can take at least a year or 2 years, and so you don't need sort of like this repetitious new title of just like putting out the exact same game each year and then just like resetting the characters, So I don't know. I just decided not to buy the wrestling game. I would have liked to. It was like the 40-year anniversary, and I could get like Andre the Giant and Hulk Hogan and all these wrestlers, you know, like Jake the Snake Roberts and all those wrestlers from that time when I was a little kid. But you play it for a couple months, and then if you take, you take a couple months off. I'm here. I have the PlayStation here in Idaho. When I go to Florida, I don't have a PlayStation. The internet's better. The internet's a lot better in Florida than it is here, but I don't have a PlayStation. So I thought about getting a second PlayStation, but they came out with a newer PlayStation, and then they're going to come out with a PlayStation Pro maybe. So I was like, how am I going to do that? And then am I going to play there and play here? And then I got to get 2 PlayStations or whatever. And then spending time in Minnesota, right? Where I'm basically just staying there for like a month or 2 months or whatever. I don't really play any video games there at all, except for on my phone. I play mobile games. So I don't really know. I'm sort of stretched. I can't do the things that I thought I not that I thought that I would be doing, but like it's just there's no there's no repetition over time. It's like, which is fine too, because growing up, you'd play a game so much. You play the game all the time, and then you'd win the game, and then you say, well, I don't need to play the game anymore. And then you kind of move on to the next game, but sometimes you could go back to the game and try to do a second run of the game or something, and that's really a lot of fun, because the players that I see on stream and stuff, they get really good at the game, and I mean they do stuff that most people that just start playing the game can't really do. They know the map, they know the systems, the items in the game they can use. And they just become really fun to watch, And so you're like, well, if I try it, it's like I got the thumb problem, I press, I'm trying to press X, I press O, I try to press O, I press X. And then you have, not even being aware, of what buttons to press, and then, and for me, a lot of it was once I knew what to press, then I would press it and it wouldn't work, or you'd have a pressing button error, where even though you knew what buttons to press, when you first start a game, you don't know what buttons to press. You're like, I don't know what buttons to press. I got to figure it out. It's like that sort of that mini game panic kind of thing. And then I get the sense that the country, the U.S., doesn't really want video games all that much anymore, like they used to. I feel like the removal and getting rid of arcade games, right? You can't even buy a standard arcade game anymore. They make them all in a smaller form, and they connect to the internet, and they're like mods. They're not like the same game at all. And there hasn't really been an explanation as to why, there is not like a standard for arcade games. You go somewhere and they're like, well, this is the arcade game of Mortal Kombat or something. And it's in a smaller box, and it has internet problems that you can't really overcome. It's got to download an update or something or other. It just doesn't seem like it's the same motherboard system that you had with the standard. The old arcade games were big. I mean, 2 adult men could stand there, or 4 adult men could stand there and play the game, and that's I think what it was designed for, but they took up a lot of space. I mean, they were big. You couldn't just like throw them in the back of a car, and drive them around or whatever. And they didn't have internet, and so everything now probably has to have internet. But they do some arcade games for like they'll do 3 arcade games of them all, like a shooting game or something, and they're big with like a seat in it and stuff. And those are actually kind of cool. But I also feel like they're sort of like iterations of games that they didn't want to develop for consoles or computer, and the whole PC thing is just, it's sort of, you have a RAM problem, or you have a processor problem, and then it takes a lot more money just to play a game that will also play on a console, but if you want to mod it, or you want to do role play or whatever, you have to have a PC. You can't do it on the console. And And so, and that just kind of puts another layer to it. And then the other problem is you gotta have really good internet. And so a lot of the internet's throttled. It's not gonna run very fast, or you're not gonna have that low ping. And so, when people look at houses or apartments, right, it's really weird. It's like a lot of people that are into the internet and technology, internet is like a major thing for them. It's like they really want really fast internet to be able to upload and download, and the upload speeds are totally throttled down too. So, if you're uploading a video or you're trying to stream a game or whatever, it's just, the upload speeds usually aren't fast enough to do that. And so, when people get to be, they're out of their teens or sort of into adults or whatever, they're like, yeah, I want like really fast internet just to play games if they have a job and they come home at night and play video games or whatever, instead of going out or drinking or whatever. Internet becomes like a top priority, but when you look at housing construction, contractors, housing construction, the internet is like the last thing that gets considered in home construction. And so I don't know about building a house from the ground up or whatever, but a lot of times it's like, well, somebody buys land and then they're going to build a house. And I mean, honestly, I think houses should all have, Ethernet at the outlets, basically. Ethernet outlets all in the house, You say, well, Wi-Fi solves some of that. You're like, well, then it doesn't. Then you hook up the TV, and all of a sudden the TV, you've got the now we have these mesh systems. You got the mesh system right under the TV, and the TV says it can't download, or it's too slow of a connection. And you're like, well, what's wrong with the TV having this internet on Wi-Fi or whatever? So Wi-Fi becomes sort of unreliable too. So you're like, well, everything needs to be wired to play video games or whatever. And you're like, well, most houses people move into when they buy a house, right? They're like, they always say location, location, location. They don't say internet, 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 or they don't say, and it's like, well, what are the rooms like? Can we fit, can we fit the people that are going to live in the house in the rooms, right? Where is it? Is it in a good school district, that we want to go to? Is it near a job so we can, get to the jobs that we go to, or whatever? And by the time that all gets done, it's like, well, I don't know what the internet is. I don't know if the cable provider has any good, they call it the last mile or any of that stuff. It's like, well, we have no idea how, the internet. We'll just call whatever they say is in our, sort of in our district or our area. Whoever provides for the houses or whatever. And so, by the end of it, you're just like, I guess, you just sort of say, well, you leave that to the pros, you leave that to the professional, gamers. And I guess I was reading too that, the graphics cards that are so expensive, the ones that the pro gamers play on have 2 processors instead of 1 that you buy in the store, so the games actually work. And so it's just, it just becomes kind of a thing. You say, well, I guess it's just more like becoming a professional athlete or something, right? You have to have an endorsement from a clothing company or a gear manufacturer, and that goes into sort of the the whole college name, image, likeness, which is the whole thing where college athletes get paid, and they sort of have to be sponsored by sort of you can't just have somebody you can't just have somebody off the street come in and dunk a basketball or shoot a shot or whatever without like full endorsement. And if they are really good and they're not going to be endorsed, it's like, well, it becomes like a trick shot. It's like, oh, they do trick shots or whatever. So I don't know. The video games I'm just not going to be able to play as much. I just sort of play whatever comes to me. And that QS Watermelon game was like really fun. My daughter found it. She's like, oh yeah, play this game, and the fruits fall down, these melons fall down, and you got to match up the melons, and you try to get a watermelon. And that QS Watermelon game is a lot of fun. I just it's the cheapest too. That's the other thing with my lifestyle change is that for me it's like I really say like I'm not able. I mean, I've never really been able to buy the most expensive or whatever. When I was in college, I sort of had the like one-time opportunity or sort of one-time opportunity to buy a really fast Macintosh computer because I wanted to do music or sounds. I was sort of mentally ill at the time and sort of wading through the waters of like trying to do stuff, and I was really interested in electronic, sort of electronic music, but more sounds, like, record sounds and then put them into kind of a Pro Tools. And at the time, that was sort of the same barrier, right? You could get a free version, but then you had to pay, $500 or $1,000 or whatever to get the recording studio at home and stuff. Just the software back then. And so you're like, well, I don't have the money for the software, and but I had a Tower Mac or whatever, and this guy from school, he got me this video game, and I was like, will it play on a Mac? Because when I was growing up, my dad used a lot of Macintosh computers, and there wasn't any video games on the Mac. You just couldn't play any video games at all. I mean, they'd come out with one or two once in a while, and then the other games they'd error, they wouldn't play right or whatever. So there was no gaming on Macs, and Mac hadn't done the iPod or the iPhone. They just started coming out with the iMac, and there was OS 10 or OS X, whatever you want to call it. That was sort of the new thing, and your computer wouldn't freeze and crash. So, you turn on the game or whatever, and the whole screen would freeze, and then you'd have to unplug it or turn it off and turn it on or whatever with a switch, a power button switch or whatever. A power switch, not a button. And so when OS 10 came out, you're like, great, this is supposed to be a stable operating system. It's not going to freeze up and crash or whatever. So anyway, this guy got me this game, and I played this game and I also lived in an apartment. I never even thought this. The apartment was like a one bedroom, but the bedroom had no insulation. So there was no insulation in the bedroom. So the main room, the heat would come on some of the time, but most of the time there was no heat in the apartment. I mean, it was really low. And the bedroom had no insulation. So in the winter months, the cold months, it would just totally freeze overnight. I mean, it was really cold. I don't know what I would have done, basically. But anyway, I got a CRT monitor, and I got the tower, and then the house somehow got at the time it was before broadband. There wasn't really any broadband. You could do a telephone line, and then DSL came out, and so I signed up and paid for this DSL service, and they come in and basically you have a phone jack that they modify, and then it has like a little bit bigger of a phone jack, and it's not an Ethernet cable, and it's not a telephone line, but it's a DSL line. I think it has one more wire or something like that. So I hooked into that, and I had like on internet all the time. I mean, it was really fast internet, sort of fast. I mean, it wasn't like, it was fast, but it wasn't like I looked at some of the other players that had internet, and some of theirs was a little bit faster, but it was like, I didn't know how they would have much faster internet, And then you had the college and the campus, and the colleges, had sort of wired, internet all through it or whatever, which was fast too. But so I had this DSL service, and I just played online game. I mean, it was first person shooter back then, and there was 30 or 60 people in the room at a time, and it was just really fast, and I just played this game a lot. I mean, I played it all the time, and that was really fun. And then after that, like I went through some mental health things, and my priorities totally changed. I was like, you can't play video games all the time in college and get good grades, basically. So if you want to get a job, you need to get good grades. And at the time, there wasn't really any pro gaming. Not that I would have been a pro gamer anyway, but it just wasn't really there. So, after that, it was like Apple came out with the iPod a couple years later, and then, you know, it was like they started doing the MacBooks with the all aluminum construction and stuff. So I think I eventually got a MacBook and I tried to play Call of Duty. But Call of Duty, I didn't realize it. I don't know what I was expecting or whatever, but Call of Duty, I realized, was all World War II simulation. And so I didn't realize at the time. And then I had broadband in New York with like Time Warner, and broadband was slower than the DSL was. And there was a lot of latency. You'd click on a website and you get like it seems like they build in like imaginary timers, right? It's like some timer just says, you know, this website is not going to load for 15 seconds, no matter what, no matter how fast your internet is, no matter what the other website's doing. It's just you know, you go to a website, you're going to have to wait 15 seconds for the page to load, and it gets almost all the way loaded, and then you know, and then at the end of 15 seconds, the web page loads or whatever. So it seemed like they were building a lot of timers into the internet, you know, the website stuff. Whereas before, if you had fast internet, you click on it and it just loads, right? If there's a problem or something, it slows down. But then when I was in New York, it was like, well, there's a lot of timers, and I had a MacBook. I don't even know. They didn't have Pro back then. I don't know what it was, but maybe it was one of the new Intel. They switched from G4 to Intel. But I had to disk drive, DVD drive, whatever, and so I got Call of Duty, and it was all World War II. You know, it was Axis and Allies, and I was just like, it was kind of fun, but it was slow. It wouldn't really load. It wouldn't really play very much. Like I'd get choppy, and it would stop and stuff. And I was like, well, that's kind of interesting. I guess I can't really play the game on it. And you couldn't ever return the games. When the games didn't work, you couldn't return them or anything. You still can't return them or whatever. But so, and then I was just involved in work. It was like, oh, I'll work, and I'll go out and have drinks and dinner or whatever, and you know, meet people, and you know, see about relationships and stuff like that. Which, you know, gaming just doesn't really. You don't really play a lot of video games usually. I mean, now there's like gamers and streamers and stuff. So, so I just didn't do any of that, and I didn't really have the time or the need. I was studying for some tests that I was going to take for work and stuff. So, gaming just, you know, was so far. And honestly, I didn't really want a game either. Like after you play a first-person shooter game really intensely for a couple of years, a year or 2 years or whatever, a year, you're basically like, I don't want to play any of this stuff anymore. It's too much. It's not, you know, looking at some of the different games, some of the games get really violent and there's gore, so I didn't really like Doom. I was not a fan of Doom. I just never really wanted to play Doom. It was like, you know the animal sounds and the blood shooting everywhere. I just didn't really want to play Doom. I didn't want to play any of the horror games, and I didn't really like any of the horror movies. I was like, I don't want to watch any horror movies, and I was never really into Doom, because, you know, it was sort of these animal sounds and the blood shooting everywhere or whatever. So I was just like, I just don't, you know, I'm just not going to get into it. I didn't really have time. I was working and stuff. So, you know, coming back to play some video games, you know, I'm finding that some of the things are different, but a lot of the things are sort of the same. You know, the entry point, you know, just gets raised really fast. You know, you buy a system and you're like, well, it's a pretty good deal for what I got. But then the new systems come out or the next games come out, and the entry to just use the hardware that you could afford or buy goes way up. You know, the entry point goes way high. Same with streaming. You know, streaming. You know, people are, you know, the home setups, the desk, the network. You know, all that system you got to buy, and then it's like, you know, you don't even know what the last mile of internet, you know, to your home is, or how fast your internet's going to be. So, playing video games and stuff, You pretty much just, try to play on a console. I might stream later from the PlayStation, but I wanted to get the wrestling game. And I thought it would be really fun to play a lot, but I kind of got turned off by like the 2K system where all the character movements are sort of the same, and I don't know. I don't know how it's fine. I understand, that they got to make games sort of the same and stuff like that, but I knew as soon as I saw the in-game currency, I'm like, I could start and like, where do you end? George the Animal Steel eating the turnbuckle. JYD. Where do you stop at paying for the coins to get these characters that you used to grow up watching? And then you're like, I don't know. The game's done. It's like a year later, they're like the 41st year anniversary. You're like, well, I just bought all those cards and characters and players, and I'm trying to learn their moves. And now there's a brand new game a year later. So I've sort of decided not to get the wrestling game, but. All right, now I got to put away all the tacos. I have a little bit here on the plate I'm going to finish up. Those are good. Tacos are fun. They're really good. It's sort of you can add what you want to them. Pick up some salsa, just stuff like that. Good. I gotta put the meat away. I got to put the cabbage away. I think I'll put a saran wrap on the cheese. Oh. Put this in the fridge right away. I'll turn this around, or I'll just bring this over here. spacing. I have pretty good amount of space. So what I'll do is I'm not going to use a Tupperware. I'm just going to put it in a bowl if it'll fit. Just going to put this into a bowl. And I hope it fits. I'm going to get a spatula and gotta get some of this stuff out of here. Right. Put some saran wrap on this. And this goes right into the fridge. There we go. Whole bowl of beef. Bowl of beef. If I want to do ramen, I can throw it in ramen. Do pasta, I can throw it in pasta. Hey. Let's do the cabbage. The cabbage is going to go in a bag. Because that's, I guess I could put it in a bowl too, but I'm going to put the cabbage in a bag. Much as I can. Cabbage in the bag. And then this all goes into here. Oh, the cabbage is starting to stain. Look at that. The cabbage. The cabbage is starting. I don't know if you can see the streaks of cabbage. I didn't realize the cabbage stained like that. I thought it stayed white. I don't know why the cabbage is staining blue or purple, but I guess that's what it does. Use the purple to the cabbage. So, I'm gonna put some saran wrap over this. This bowl just goes right in the fridge. guys. Kind of tired. Do the dish a little later. Okay. All right. Well, I'll check that out. Do some dishes later. Take off my apron. Okay, get my jacket. Cabbage. A bit more soda. Water. Just take my soda out for now. I'll be back to do the dishes. I kind of feel like sitting outside for a minute. I'll just go upstairs. Shoot. Hope this thing doesn't fall out of my pocket. Move this. Move this. Make my bed a little bit. Okay. So we got an expense request. So we'll look at this expense. An expense request. Okay, let's look at it. Where'd the thing go? Is that all of it there? Expense request. Okay. Do you have a promotion code? Random bots sending links. So many links. It seems small streamers are most targeted with bots. Yo, is this a scam? I'm a very small streamer. I average about... I don't know about this, guys. Looks like a scam or something. Okay, let's go here. Random bots sending links. Hey, since I receive so many links from bots like Streamrise, RU, it seems small streamers are most targeted with bots. Let us help each other to avoid some random links. Oh. And there's an advertisement for Grammarly. With just a couple of clicks, Grammarly takes whatever's on the tip of your tongue and turns it into sentences, helping you create thoughtful email replies, content, and upvote-worthy Reddit posts instantly. Try it for free now. Well, I don't know. Are you a scam? Or are you real? Wow, this is kind of cool. What game is this? This big bird just swoops down. Wow. Okay. I've got to go run a couple errands. And I will talk to you later. Hope you're doing good. Have a good day. And talk to you later. If you want, you can subscribe or hit the like button. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.